Welcome back. On this episode of MadFlavor TV, we're talking to owner and creator of Generation TYPO, Doncel. Generation TYPO embraces cultural and generation differences. Ashley Gayles, aka Persian Black Queen, is talking fashion, so you know this is going to be fun.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Ashley Gayles, aka Persian Black Queen, and I've got something special for you guys right here on MadFlavor TV today. Say what's up to Doncel, the TYPO clothing brand owner. We got a lot to talk about, do we not, Doncel?
We do, yes we do.
All right, let's jump right into it. I mean, TYPO, you look at the brand, you see the name, like, explain it a little bit here. What's going on?
Absolutely, yeah. So the full name of the brand is Generation TYPO, and you kind of see the typo as the main piece as the logo. And it really came about over this past year. This past year was rough, and being stuck at home through quarantine and really just trying to find a way to stay sane and also get my creative out there. It kind of just from one thing led to another, in which, you know, throughout my career and just life, I'd always been, you know, having to translate between the different generations. And I always heard like, oh, you know, that's what's wrong with this generation. And like, y'all lazy, you don't know hard work. And I'm hearing this in like boardrooms, because I work in the tech industry. So I'm hearing this in boardrooms where I'm like, we're in the same position. Like, we're doing the same work. I'm in the same job title as you. Yeah, you're 30 years older than me, but is it really a generational, you know, just stamp that you just put on everybody? So I was like, okay, how can we, you know, take this to the next level and create something that'll spark the conversation between the generations so that we can start something.
Right.
Because it all has to start with the conversation. So I was like, okay, I got to take it in two parts. I got to take one, I got to create something that's going to spark dialogue, but I also have to make something that's just dope enough to where if you don't even care about the message, you still want to wear it.
Right.
And you still want to get behind it. So the kind of play on the red line is just like in any kind of word processing, you know, application or whatever, whenever something is spelled incorrectly, you get that red underline, right? And that's the system trying to tell you like, yo, something's wrong. You spelled it wrong, you didn't use the right word, whatever the case may be. So I took that red line and I kind of established it all throughout the brand. You'll find it in different pieces. You'll find it right there in the logo, in which in the logo, it's actually centered right through the middle of the text. And then it off shifts the letters from left to right to show you that these typos or these differences are what separate us throughout these generations.
Nice.
So that's kind of how it started. And then it just kind of took off from there to add into the different designs and then just creating something that, you know, everyone can get behind.
I like the idea of the line going through, and it makes so much more sense. Like, I knew there was going to be more. As you can see, your girl, Persian Black Queen, is wearing the Friends and Families exclusive. So, are you?
No, you're good. You're good. Just
okay.
Loud. Yeah. Just
all right, let's start that one over again. All right.
All right.
5, 4, 3. Well, as you can see, your girl is wearing her TYPO Friends and Family exclusive t-shirt right here. And let me tell you something, I've got it on. As you can see, it's not one of those flimsy shirts. It's not something that's like a Fruit of the Loom, you know, with just a stamp on it. It's actually stitched on, which means that it's high quality. But, you know, I love it. And we're going to get into my other piece I got, because I'm not going to show them that yet. We show them that at the end. But, I mean, what made you go into the fashion industry from being in tech? Like, that's a huge difference.
It is, and that was the biggest obstacle, because I didn't know anything about fashion outside of, you know, the things I like to wear and kind of putting different pieces together. I never, you know, knew about the different materials and cuts and films, but as it came together and thinking about the easiest way to get it out there, to put it in front of people, yeah. I just came on clothing, right? And it just landed there, and I was like, okay, now I gotta learn. I never was the one to run away from, you know, the challenge of learning a new industry. Yeah. So I just started doing some research and started talking to different manufacturers, and it kind of worked out, not from a time management standpoint, in a healthy way, but because my 9 to 5, you know, I'm usually out of there by 6 or 7, and a lot of these manufacturing plants are overseas and in different time zones. I'd be talking to them from like 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. And I did that just for a year straight, just going through different samples and having them send me different materials and learning about different weights and cotton blends and all types of things that I did not have any knowledge of. Yeah. And I wanted it to feel premium. I wanted to have that high quality. That's why I went with a lot of embroidery pieces. That's why I went with like heavier weight, and I wanted it pre-washed so that it didn't shrink. Like, it was a lot of trial and error. But I'm happy with how it's coming together so far.
So, okay, let's talk a bit about this generational differences, because there was like maybe about a few weeks ago, there was this whole thing about Gen Ys coming out saying that there was a certain way to do things, and everybody who doesn't do it that way is so outdated. And, it kind of caused this like uproar, because I don't know, where do you fall as far as generations, like category?
In the scale? So I'm in a weird part because I'm technically the end of the millennial and like the start of Gen Z, because I'm 24. So I was born in 1996. So I kind of teeter between the lines of that middle space.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something was real crazy, because originally kids that were like 80s, early 80s, I think it was like mid 70s or late 70s into like maybe 85 were Generation X, right? I don't know how the heck they switched this all up. They just decided because technology, we were there for all the technology. Now we're the millennials. And I'm like, okay, I guess that makes sense. I don't know. I still classify myself as Gen X, because that we had the whole, like, we were walking around
right.
like that's what it is. We were the rebels, you can't take it from us. You know what I mean? Like, we're not letting you take it from us. But the funny thing is about, when you talk about the differences or the categorization, or the I guess however you want to say it, the segregation of it all when it comes to the generations, most of it is only happening, would you say, because there's not a lot of communication between the age gaps and the differences. Because I know for myself, I like to speak to my old heads. They get offended when you say old heads, but listen, y'all retired, y'all got gray hair every day on wear, own it, all right? But when you sit down with them, you get a lot of wisdom, you get a lot of knowledge, and talk to me a little bit about how important it is, how imperative that movement is to bring all the generations together so that we learn from one another.
Absolutely. That's the whole point, right? And that's why the tagline for the brand is "Let's talk about it," because that's where it starts. And I learned that very young. I would not be where I am today, or would not have progressed throughout my career as fast as I did without the previous generations. Like, that was the cheat code for me, was learning from other people's experiences and then saying, hey, I made this mistake, don't make the same one. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. You telling me what to do? Like, perfect. I don't have to go through that.
The map already there for you. Just tell me which way not to go, and I'm good.
Exactly. And that's so important for the conversation, because to your point, when we just write it off as like, oh, we don't need to talk about this, or you don't understand, there's no way to gain that knowledge. There's no way to come together. So once you remove yourself from the situation and kind of be selfless and not think, oh, it's all about me, you really get to learn a lot of information very quickly, because you're learning from people who have been around a lot longer than you, or you're learning from those who are younger than you. I got mentors that are 40, 50 years older than me. I got mentors that are 5 years younger than me, around just teaching me different things, because we all understand different industries at the point in time that we're in. And we really have to be able to just start with talking to each other. And that's why the Let's Talk About It came.
So when it comes to diversity and including that within, this is something interesting, because my whole movement of myself is I'm Persian and Black. And, that in itself is a very diverse, mixture as is, So I've come to this place of where I understand the importance of learning about diversity and respecting it and allowing it to be diverse, so that we learn different things from each other. How do you connect that with TYPO and Generation TYPO, like the whole movement?
Absolutely. I surround myself with the most diverse group of people I can possibly find, because that difference from the culture and the way that they were brought up, you learn different things that you may not get out of your own culture. And it's so important to have that diversity across the entire industry, because not only from, the different races and interacting with people that have taught me, I've learned so much from every different culture that I've been able to kind of adapt and kind of take on as my own. And I also have the biggest, I think people that are able to speak multiple languages are the coolest people in the world. I'm like, how does your brain, how are you able to differentiate?
I'm telling you, it just happens. Just learn one. You know, just learn one language, and I promise you, outside of Spanish, I honestly feel like, because Spanish is a derivatory, or it's derived from, I should say, I always got to think about how I say that. It's derived from Latin. So, you know, it has like some history behind it, but I always suggest people find like one of the oldest languages to learn. And I think there's like 4 of them.
Yeah.
I think there's 4 of them. So if you learn one of those main ones, it kind of just, it just happens, because then you start realizing there's certain words that are the same. There's certain, you know, sounds, and usually it's just the way that you enunciate it that changes, or, you know, where you actually say the accent or give it the oomph of what you're saying. So it's not that hard. I promise you. I challenge you to actually learn a language outside of Spanish.
Done deal. I got my homework. I'm getting started the moment we end this.
Yeah.
But it's so important, right? And diversity, not only just among the races, but when you talk about different genders and having everyone involved, especially when you think about women in the workplace, and everyone always asks me like, oh, you know, love to include a lot of women in all the projects that you're doing. I'm like, absolutely. It brings a totally different perspective that I cannot provide myself. Right. And I would not be the person I was today without all of the women in my life. So I will always make sure I have those around me so I can continue to learn. And also with that diversity piece, which everyone loves to talk about diversity, the inclusion is where it gets a little cloudy, and we don't talk about it as much. Because you can have a diverse group, but does everyone feel included? Does everyone feel valued? Does everyone understand that different cultures move in different ways? In some cultures, it's respectful to be quiet, right? And to allow others to speak. In other cultures, it's seen as weakness if you're quiet, right? So how do you mend those gaps to allow everyone to understand where they're coming from?
I think the biggest part for me, you know, is just allowing people to be different, you know, and just honoring that. Like, we aren't supposed to be the same. You know what I mean? Maybe if you put, it goes into something that I always talk about as far as balancing, you know, like everybody wants to be around people who are just like them. The problem with that is that you don't grow. You cannot evolve because you're just around people who are your equal. You have to be around people who challenge you to come out of that comfort zone, if you will, you know, to really actually engage and learn new things. Like you know, and again, I don't know if it's because I grew up in 2 different cultures from jump, but, you know, I've learned to make different dishes from around the world. You know, like I learned how to speak different or understand different languages. You know, like I'll be sitting around someone who's speaking Twi, which is it's a Ghanaian, you know, language. And when they speak it and I respond, they go, oh my God, you understand Twi? And I'm like, yeah, I do actually. So, you know, like it's funny because your ear becomes just used to hearing the differences, and you can almost pick up on any language. You know, my big thing is that I have low confidence when it comes to actually speaking it, but I can understand it and I'll respond in English. So that's a start, right?
It is, absolutely. Being able to understand it, I need to get on your level.
Right. So where did you grow up? Are you from the East Coast, West Coast? Where you at?
Yeah, so I'm a military brat. We moved around a lot. So I was actually born in Texas, but the closest place I could say I was raised was Arizona. And that was, you know, kind of on and off between 3rd grade and sophomore year of high school. Even though we moved around in the middle of that was where like the core of me was kind of brought up. Real small city called Sierra Vista in Arizona. It's like 2 hours out of Phoenix, which everyone's more familiar with. But, you know, that's where I spent most of my time just kind of figuring out who I was, or at least who I thought I was.
Yeah.
And then I moved to the DMV in sophomore year of high school, which I thought the world was over. I'm like in the middle of high school, like I'm coming in, I don't know anybody. I'm going from the West Coast to the East Coast. They got a different language out here. I'm like, what is going on?
Different style, different language, different play. Like, you know, you had to get your Mac game different, you know what I mean? Because all that had to change.
It really did. It's a whole different vibe.
Dude, so like for real.
I had to adjust and learn these different things, but honestly, as much as I hated it going through it in high school, I would not have changed anything, because the way everything panned out was because of how much I was moving around allowed me to understand how to be more flexible and how to understand different cultures and how to remove myself from the situation and be like, all right, let me just learn from where I'm at right now and also just take it all in. It also is the reason I started working really young. I started working when I was 16 because honestly, I was in high school and didn't really want to do the whole making new friends again. And I was like, I just want to get out of here and graduate. And I found out if I have a work permit, I only have to take half-day classes. I was like, absolutely, I need to get out of here. So I started applying to all these places and just happened to land in the tech industry. But it was on some very entry-level seasonal, work. I was making $8.25 an hour. Like, I was just happy to be supporting.
16,
I really wanted that. Hey, I had to get out there, wanted to support, family. And, it was something that my parents always instilled, like, hey, we all need to contribute. So I was really excited to get started there and then really just took off from there and just was grinding as much as I could to get to the next level.
When we come back, more with owner and creator of Generation TYPO, Doncel. Don't go nowhere.
We know who you are. We know how this came about. Where do you see it going? Where do you want this to go?
That is a great question. So first launch is actually on Tuesday, the 23rd. And I think from there, March. I really want to, of March, yeah.
Okay.
I really want to see, where the community takes it and how people take to it. As much as I have this idea in my head of, oh, this would be cool or this would be cool. I learned a long time ago to not put my ideas on others and make them think a certain way. So this is honestly a learning experience for me too. And I really want to see where the world takes it. And I'm open to being, adaptable and adjustable. But I really just hope that it sparks conversations where it matters the most, right? Starting at home, right? I hope this helps you have a conversation, whether it be with your parents or that cousin you haven't talked to in 3 years. And it just sparks a dialogue to talk about something that happened in the past. When you think about mental health, like that is such a big part of it. So that's really what I want it to do. And from there, I'm open and really hope to bring more people along with me.
What do you see it? How do you want to connect this with the communities? Because I feel like something like this really needs to be embedded in the communities. Like they need to know this brand. They need to know this clothing line. So like, what would be some ideas or what are some things that maybe have crossed your mind as far as what you will do and how you will connect with the community? Because that it's got to be all ages, right? So
absolutely.
You know what I mean? What are your thoughts on that?
So I would love to start locally, just with everything going on. And I know, from being able to travel safely in the world that we're in looks a lot different. So starting here in the DMV where I currently am, just doing, whether it be pop-up shops or getting together with different groups that normally gather and just coming in and learning from them and bringing different products and, sparking that dialogue. But I also want to create those safe spaces online too, because I understand some people can't get out. It's a larger risk to get out. So I want to be able to still create these safe spaces for us all to come together, talk about it, learn, adjust, right? If there's something cool that you would like to see a part of the brand or, a different area that you aren't seeing get much attention, like allow us to help with that, allow us to bring you along with us. So I think that's where I really want to start is getting close to, the supporters and learning from them as well, so that everyone feels included and it's not just I built this thing and I put it out there. Like, no, we are all building this, right? And how can we all continue to come together?
I love that. What about fashion shows? Like, do you see yourself taking TYPO and like really like putting it on the runway and, really going expanding with it? Like, what's the style? What are they supposed to be? Is it urban? Is it comfort? Is it athleisure? Like, tell me what we got to look forward to.
So see, you digging into my secret bag and I wasn't gonna talk about it, but absolutely, I would love to see it in the fashion industry and thinking about getting into more higher fashion and learning about the different materials and seeing it on the runway would be amazing, right? It's not something I can confidently say I've done before or even attended, but I would love to get there and I would love to learn from those who are doing it, so I can figure out, okay, cool, what would that look like? But I'm 100% open to that. That is something that has been like a dream of mine ever since I was learning about like fashion and stuff like that. I was like, wow, what goes into it is really art. And if you don't understand the like instructions and how things are cut, it can be like, it's a whole nother game.
Oh yeah, people kind of just look at fashion a lot of times like it's just something to do for fun. And it's like, you have no idea. I think the best description of what really fashion is you probably, I'm not going to say you have or have not seen this, but Devil Wears Prada, where she explained to her intern, or I guess her new admin at the time, that, you know, the steps of how you get just this simple sweater that you're wearing, and you think you just picked it up because it was cheap and it was just there in the store, and you're like, oh, I'll just grab it, but you don't realize the steps that it took for it to actually get to the place where you just pick it up so nonchalantly and wear it like it's just your way of saying, I really don't care about fashion. It's like, yeah, actually, you bought it, you still care about fashion, you know? So there's a lot of opportunity, I think, as far as, like, you know, it's very vast as far as I can see, as far as what you could do with the brand. I think it would be really dope. Okay, so Generation TYPO has the clothing brand, right?
Yeah.
What else is going to come from this?
I would love to see it become a part of, you know, a community discussion of some sort, or ability to like crowdsource different ideas of what people want to bring to their community. So it's definitely just the start. I also have, you know, other things that, you know, I was doing before TYPO. The first company I ever launched is called 4K Life. And it's a marketing firm, kind of what it's turned into, around helping people build their brands and build their, you know, whether it be companies or ideas or logos. So just encompassing all those things and the network that I've been able to build up and bring others along with them as well. So as much as, you know, it's starting as clothing and that brand, you know, I'm trying to just be as open as possible, right? And not just be like, this is the only thing I'll ever do, and really see, you know, where it can go.
Let's talk a little bit about this latest news of the massacre in Atlanta. And, you know, there's a big movement where it's saying stop Asian hate, right? You have a lot of people that are kind of on the fence about it because they're saying, well, wait a minute, we're still fighting for Black Lives Matter. You know, we're still seeing injustice done to our people. Why are we now being persuaded to stand with Asians against being hated and at this point murdered, you know? How do you feel that can actually be something with TYPO that could bring that together with the two movements?
Absolutely. And that's like just seeing the pure just evilness that goes on in the world, and just how it gets written off, you know, whether it be by governments or police officers, around saying, oh, you know, he just had a bad day. Like, it's just completely unacceptable in my eyes. And I also don't agree that we can't fight that same battle at the same time. Yes, Black Lives Matter, but yes, we need to stop Asian hate as well. Like, we all need to come together and understand evil is evil, and like hate is hate, and it doesn't have to be there. And once we really sit down and talk about it, I think we can understand that we're not as different as we might feel. And we face a lot of the similar things when it comes to discrimination and when it comes to racism. And I think that's why it's so important to create these safe spaces and really, you know, be able to come together and understand, hey, we're coming in with a lot of emotions, right? And the way that different cultures process emotions are very different, right? It can come across very intimidating if you're not, you know, informed of that beforehand. And you might take it personally, like, oh, why are they so mad at me? No, you know, it's not directed directly towards you. Remove yourself from the situation and look at how this is impacting so many lives, and how can we really come together and be like, okay, cool, like what are next steps? How do we protect each other? How do we have that dialogue? How do we make sure that these things don't get swept under the rug, and we have platforms to blast it out there for any community that's hurting at the time due to this? Yeah. So I'm all for supporting all the causes.
Well, I've got some ideas for TYPO. I don't know about anybody else, but we're going to talk about this off camera because we don't want nobody knowing what we're doing, okay? So we're going to keep all the good juice for later, but tell everyone where they could go to actually order and purchase, and even look through some of the things, because you do have some things. Oh, while you do that, I'm going to get my other piece. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Yes, so you will be able to find all of the clothing at generationtypo.com. We also have all of our social media handles under the same thing for Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Generation TYPO. And we'll be posting different lookbooks. We'll have some blog posts. And it's going to be really fun. Like, if you really pay attention to the brand, there's a lot of hidden messaging And there's a lot of things, if you want to go along the journey, that I think will keep you entertained and make you think a little bit different. Even with a little hint, if you take a look at the shirt, there's different styles. You might see the F and F, you might see a red and blue line versus the red line on my shirt. So yeah, if you're really down to understand it, I think you'll have some fun.
And where's did you tell them the social media platform for it and everything? Because I want them to know everything. I'm sorry, I was playing with my new piece. I just, I just, my bad.
Nah, absolutely. Let's do it again. I'm gonna tell them again. You can find us at Generation TYPO on all the socials: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and the website generationtypo.com.
All right. Well, meanwhile,
go ahead, throw it off.
I got me a little something, and y'all don't be getting all salty about it either, because you can go get your own. But I'm fortunate enough to have it, and I'm so excited. Like in the 90s, we used to call this the dad sack, right? But it's like fire now. Like, you gotta have one of these, right? So this is what you do with it. You know what I'm saying? I got me my little
crossbody.
I mean, my little piece. What y'all want? You guys see that? I'm gonna pull it down so y'all can even see. Like, and then look. So this has so what's up with the BAG and then the NR? So you see inside of it, I'm gonna pull it up close so you can see it. Yeah. So you have you got the blue line and you got the red line. Talk about this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So on that piece, you have an exclusive. If you see the band, and it says 1 of 100. And this is something that I did for, friends and family. My friends and family collection will be just for those closest to me. And, just a little, gift for supporting and driving the cause. But the blue line where it plays on, just like with the red line, when we talk about a typo, right? In that same word processing document, if you type in a word, it's spelled correctly, sometimes you'll get a blue line. And what it is it's actually giving you a suggestion around, hey, did you mean this word or did you want to give something else? So for my friends and family and those who truly do support you, they'll never leave you with just saying you're wrong, like a red line. They'll always give you suggestions around how to improve. And that's where the red to blue line combination came together. And on the final piece for the bag that we'll be releasing, just like that one, it's actually a red bag that everyone or the public will have access to. It'll actually say, instead of on how yours says in our bag, as our friends and family, and theirs it'll say in my bag, and just another little hidden message. The way that you read it, because some people read it left to right, and they're like, be in my G, how? And it's just no, if you look closely, it's, hey, you're in your bag, and literally in my is inside of the word bag. So I always like to play around with the designs like that to make sure it has some messaging. But thank you.
I got my pocket. This about to be my new. I'm one of those girls that if I have to wear a purse, I wear it right and I floss it right. But sometimes, I'm a mom of boys and I have my daughter, but I have more boys, so I got to be ready to go on the go. You know what I mean? So backpacks and daddy sacks and whatever y'all want to call it. Y'all can call it whatever y'all want to call it. I'm calling it 1 of 100. I'm in our bag.
Hey, let them know.
How about that?
Let them know.
I can have whatever name y'all want to have, but I'm rocking what I'm rocking right now, right?
There it is. Okay. There it is. You already know. We got more packages on the way to you too. This is just a start for sure.
Boom! Look at that. Y'all don't even know I'm about to floss on y'all. Look, I was almost, when I saw this, look, I even gotta pull this up. I actually have the stitching at the bottom. That's the red and the blue line.
There it is. There it is.
Don't be getting mad about that.
All throughout.
Listen, I am so honored and proud to actually have taken the time to talk to you about Generation TYPO. I'm excited about what's coming with Generation TYPO. I'm looking at the movement it creates, the opportunity and the platform that it creates to bring people together of ages, sizes, genres, genders, whatever you want to call it. This is definitely one of those platforms I feel like is neutral, and I love it, and I'm all for that. I'm so excited to see what's coming up. with Generation TYPO and Doncel, because Doncel got some things coming up. Y'all don't even know.
Hey,
Catch
come
that
on.
boy drop about the marketing firm. Your boy ain't say company. He said firm. If you ain't catching it, then you late. You late.
Nah, thank you so much. I'm honored to even be here to talk about it. Like this means so much to me, and just seeing the excitement that it's bringing, and just the fact that you enjoy it, like that's what it's all about. So I just really appreciate you.
You know, we got to keep it in the fam. You know, shout out to DMV military brats. Let's go. You know,
Let them know.
You well cultivated. You cultured and stuff. You know what you doing.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, this was your girl Ashley Gayles, aka Persian Black Queen, here on MadFlavor TV and Generation TYPO. Doncel. Peace.
Hey there.
Oh, bitter. I don't wanna be bitter. As the sun moves out the way for the moon, and May clears the way for June, I'm looking at these captured memories of me and you. What happened to the days I'm seeing right here? Laughs and smiles, girl, the love was there. I don't see much of that these days. It seems like a distant memory. So why do we fuss and fight when there's love still there? But it's not enough to save us. So what do we do? Don't wanna end up hating you. I think it's best that we move on, 'cause I don't wanna end up bitter. I don't wanna end up hating you. Oh, bitter. I still got love for you. Bitter. I don't wanna be bitter. I can't stop scratching my head. I'm thinking of how did it get so bad between us? We barely even talk, but when we do, you accusing me, or I'm accusing you. Oh. And when I come in the room, you leave like you don't wanna be bothered with me. And if this how you gonna be about it, trust and believe that I can do without. So why do we fuss and fight when this love's still there? But it's not enough to save us. What do we do? Don't wanna end up hating you. I think it's best that we move on, 'cause I don't